it's the NFL. There's no free handouts. It doesn't matter how much they like you. It doesn't matter how much they think you're a great person. At the end of the day, they're going to take the 53 that they think can get it done. And we will probably figure out in the next 24, 48 hours, the Titans do make some claims. Some of these guys that are on the 53 aren't really safe. So we'll dive into that as well. We're also going to talk about the new trade for the 7th round pick, trading our 7th round pick for 2025 for Nick Folk. We'll get into that a little bit as well. And then we'll talk about the specifics on what claims could still happen. I mean, there's a lot of guys that were cut. There's some surprises out there. Do the Titans at number 11 on the waiver wire, do they kind of throw their hat in the ring for something? We already saw a trade for a draft pick to bring in a kicker. Do they bring in a tight end? I mean, tight end is, we'll talk about with James today, really weak, I think, outside of Okonkwo. A lot of people aren't really happy with Wesco either. So tight end's definitely a major flaw to me, but we'll dive all into that and more. So let's bring in James. We did give an invite to Ken as well, so who knows? Maybe he'll join. Rossi might be joining the show as well, but here's James, Titans for Life. Definitely go subscribe to him. We got 11 days, 14 hours, 51 minutes, James, till we start for real, buddy. What's on your mind, man? Thanks again for joining us.
Well, what's kind of on my mind right now is my stomach's kind of churning. I think there are some key positions that really need some work. There's a lot of youth that are, that it's concerning to me at the wide receiver position, just the amount of youth. And I mean, I don't mean like, they've only been in the league 2-3 years. I'm talking about these guys are not even still wet behind the ears. I think their whole body's still wet at this point. I'm really also concerned that, there are, you hear the coaching staff talk a lot about being able to do multiple things and how these things are done. They want you to be able to play multiple positions. They want you to be able to do things on special teams, offense, defense, and then the one guy they talk about doing all of that, they cut.
True. True.
I mean, if you're going to say something like that, live that. If you're not going to live that, then shut up about it.
Yeah.
Because to me as a, if I was a player, I would be like, well, you're just, full of dung. I'm trying to keep it family friendly,
Yep.
here. So some of the cuts today were players that played multiple roles and could move around and could be in different positions. And I'm not just talking about Mason Kinsey. I'm talking about, there's several guys that they cut today that had multiple positions. Yeah, they may not have been, all pro in those positions, but the fact that if with the injury history of this team, a guy that can be stuck in there for, maybe a quarter or 2 quarters to get you to the next game is vital. And you just say, screw all of them. I'm going to go with the shiny new penny. That to me is unconscionable considering the injury history this team has had.
True. And we'll get into Kearis Jackson, but here's a guy too that just got hurt. Thankfully he was able to come back, and it really does make sense now why the Titans played him so much in that last preseason game. But I see some of you guys in the chat, and we'll definitely get to your comments here, and thanks again for joining us. The Gar, I know that some of you are really upset about the Gar pick. I think Eric's his name, maybe his first name, but he's one I thought did enough to make the team. He's one that, as you mentioned, was versatile. I thought he was very valuable in the return game. And I actually, the first 2 games, he looked the part. Like, 13 was his average the first game, 11 was the second game. And the last game, he didn't get any looks. It was Kinsey, or it was Jackson for most of it. Then he got for Kinsey for 2. And then Vrabel threw Jackson back out there. And Jackson, I mean, for all the amount of time he was out there for the last game, he had 1 return for 16 yards. He let one bounce. I'm just saying, I'm not going to do that in this show. We're going to go through every position group, give you guys a chance. Who'd you like? Didn't you like making the team? Who was a surprise cut? See, some of you were saying even Racy McMath was a surprise. I think for us at the network, that was not a surprise by any means.
No, don't get me wrong. I like Race. He's a great guy. He really is. He is a kind of guy that I think if more NFL players had the heart and the compassion that he had, there would be, it would be a much better league when it came to that. But when it came to his ability, the best ability on any for any player of any sport is availability, and he just didn't have that availability and durability.
Well, I think we're ready. I think we're ready to go position by position, get in some conversation, get you guys in the chat. We'll start off right now if I can get my cursor over there. Shout out to Ian. Ian has been here a long, long time on the Titan Upload Network. So shout out to him. He says, I'm shot guard, didn't make the team. And like I said, that definitely was concerning for me. But let's dive into this position by
and the
position.
Reverend's here. The good Reverend's here.
Yes, he is. We'll talk to him in a minute. Technical difficulties, but here we go. Now we're good. So, let me get rid of these guys off on the side here. So we're just going to go ahead and go position by position group. So we'll start off with quarterbacks. That's no surprise, right? Now, what we will do, James, is who's your number 2? Okay. And there were some surprise cuts today for quarterback. Would any of those intrigue you? I mean, obviously, you're not going to get rid of Will Levis, but depending on how you feel about Malik Willis, is there anybody out there that you feel like the Titans might be able to snatch up and then maybe one of these guys becomes expendable?
No. It's real simple. No. Malik Willis and Will Levis, I've said this, I don't know, several occasions. I think that they're on the same, when I say progression in their abilities and in their readiness to be an NFL quarterback, they're about even right now. I think that Will Levis, he played in much better competition. He's seen a lot of the defenses and a lot of the offensive things that the Titans are going to do. So I think he's there. He's at that point. Now he has to be able to react and read it faster because it's just a lot faster. Malik Willis last year, he hadn't seen anything like this. And I said when he was drafted, he is a 2 to 2.5 year project. And I said when Will Levis was drafted, if he's going to be a good quarterback, which I have my doubts, but if he's going to be a good quarterback, then it's going to be a year and a half before he's ready. And they're both right on track for that time period. I mean, it just takes time. Not very many quarterbacks come from college and are instantly great in the NFL. It's just not. It just doesn't happen very often. And those guys are usually Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
So and so it just takes time to develop because the speed is different. The way they disguise things is different. The types of defensive plays that they run and how many different sets they have is completely different than what they can do in college. It's completely different.
Yeah.
So these guys are about on track what I thought they would be. So I don't think that there's anyone out there that I would go after, but I still think that eventually one of these guys is traded at some point.
Yeah.
I do think that one of them's traded at some point, and we go after a backup quarterback, maybe in the draft, or maybe a free agent somewhere, some guy who was a former starting quarterback that can come in and be serviceable for 3-4 games or something like that during the season. But I just don't see us I don't see both of these guys on the team in a year or two.
Yeah. I think both of these guys are resembling a lot. I know Willis is real or Levis is really good in the 2-minute drill. That's kind of where he gets his ploy. He's really, or I should say in the red zone. Red zone, he's really, really good. I hear nothing but great things. Like a Mariota person, the way he's been able to do that. He's still too young. And then he didn't even get the 2 preseason games to end the year. And I kind of brought this up in my watch party, but it's like if Malik Willis, okay, if Will Levis played half of that game with Malik, I think we would be judging Malik a lot differently compared to the whole game, just like the Bears game, because you don't know what Will Levis would have done. Will Levis has thrown by far. I mean, trust me, Malik had his fair share of throws, but Will Levis to end the Bears game, by far one of the worst throws I've ever seen. And some people just gloss over that and act like it don't exist. He's still young. I'm not saying give up on any of these guys. But right now, I would have to put Malik Willis number 2. There's no question about it. Will Levis just needs to continue to show me. It's sad, though, James, when he showed me more in his press conference with the mayonnaise commercial than he has during this right now. But part of it was because he's hurt. So let's go, and you guys can comment on there, and we'll get to them too. And then after we go over wide receivers, because that's probably going to have a lot of fireworks on the channel, and then we'll definitely start going from the top. We'll work our way down the comments. Right now we're at 108, so we're feeling good about that. Definitely tighten up that like button to help us out. James is putting on the glasses, so you know he's about to get serious. So running backs that keep Henry, Spears, Chestnut just lit the world on fire for some of this. And Spears did a great job too. So I feel really confident in those two. But because we run the ball so much, you're going to try to probably not overexpend Derrick Henry throughout the season. It would have been nice to keep somebody else. Now, maybe they go out and they claim somebody. Maybe they go out, wait for everything to clear, and then they just pick somebody up off the street that they really like. But we know Haskins went to the IR. I was kind of surprised on that. So he's out for the year. Ward, they just let him go because of injury, so he's done. I'm not sure how that works. Patrick. I thought Patrick did enough to at least think about making basically some sort of roster spot. Now, maybe they're able to suck him back up and put him on the practice squad, which would be great. Would love that as an opportunity. But what's your opinion on the running backs? But really specifically, how do you value Patrick? And do you think the Titans maybe should have kept him?
Well, okay. Hassan Haskins went to IR for like 30 minutes. He's actually on the commissioner's exempt list now, which kind of cancels out the IR. So they don't waste an IR spot on him. But you know that this running back room is, I think what they've done is it's not bad. You know, it's not a time to, let me put on my glasses so I can read real quick. It's not time to panic, because I think Tajay Spears and Julius Chestnut did more than enough to say, okay, yeah, if something happens to King Henry, we've still got a tandem. You can't. I don't think you can replace Derrick Henry with one person. I think it's got to be by the aggregate. So I think what they've done is they've gone out and they said, okay, look, if something happens to Derrick, we still got Tajay, we still have Julius, and then we can bring in somebody that's sitting at home eating Cheetos, and maybe get him ready for if something happens to one of these two. So I'm not all that concerned at running back, because I think that they've got a nice little tandem behind Derrick Henry.
Yeah. And again, I'm all for Derrick Henry just running wild this season, but trying to think of the playoffs. If that's where everybody wants to go, we want to be healthy enough, and that's something we've not been over the last couple of years. Let's face the facts there. So, all right.
Playoffs? We talk about playoffs?
I didn't think so until we signed Hopkins. Then I got back on the train. So we look at wide receiver. Now, no surprise, Hopkins, Burks, Phillips, he'll probably, I don't know what they're going to do for him. Do they put him on the IR? Do they not bring somebody up? Dowell, he's a shocker to me, but we get into him in a minute. NWI does make the roster. Now, I floated out to Rossi last night. I thought, hey, if they keep Dowell, maybe NWI is expendable. A lot of people thought that was great. Some of you thought, no, it's terrible. You got to keep NWI. Regardless of the fact they are always still high on him, so they just kept him along. Moore, I mean, he does scare me, man, because in that last preseason game, he got a lot of reps. He didn't do nothing. And I know it's scaring a lot of media members too. And then finally, the one I was the most shocked on because I didn't think he was going to make the roster. So shout out to him, Kyrus Jackson. So how do you feel about the wide receivers? And I figured Rossi would come in now and screw everything up, and now I got to do stuff. But we'll get him in here. It's just going to take some time. But Rossi is with us. So we'll get him in here in a minute. So Rossi, just hang on real quick, and I'll try to maneuver something with James, and we'll figure it out, buddy. But James, take it away. Wide receiver of the bunch. Any surprises to you? And yes or no, and explain yourself, sir.
There are two surprises here. Kyrus Jackson, Colton Dowell. They're both huge surprises to me. Kyle Phillips, they keep 7, but it's really not 7. It's going to be 6 because Kyle Phillips has a grade 3 sprain, which is an actual tear of his MCL. It's going to be 6 weeks. I mean, he's going to miss 6 games. He may be able to, quote, come back week 5, but he won't be. There's no way he's going to be ready to play. So they're going to have to hold him out a little bit. So week 6, maybe week 7, somewhere around there is when you start looking for Kyle Phillips. So really what you're talking about is they actually keep 6. I think once Kyle Phillips comes back and he's okay, I see one of these guys going bye-bye. I really do. Colton Dowell, showed less than nothing. I mean, there were times, even at practice, I've been hearing that he just completely disappeared. Kyrus Jackson, if it wasn't for this last game, I would be like, who? I mean, yeah. It's one of those things where he showed out at the exact time he had to, or he was going to be cut. I mean, it's that, Chris Moore, I get, I think he's a number 3, maybe number 4 receiver type of guy. And you need a guy like Traylon Burks and DeAndre Hopkins to take pressure off of him for him to get open because he's going to be on your number 3 corner or your nickel corner. He's somebody who's not going to be able to keep up with him is going to be covering him. He's getting the best corners. He's not going to be getting the best corners when he plays. So I think that's understandable. I think that when he does play and he plays well, he's got pretty good hands. He's going to be able to get some work done. He's going to keep you moving the chains a little bit. So I think I understand why they keep him. And Nick, they just feel comfortable with Nick Westbrook. NWI, they just like him. He's comfortable. He blocks. And we all know that there are players on this team in previous years that had no business being on this team because they, quote, blocked.
Yeah.
So, and we had no doubt that Hopkins, Burks, and Phillips were going to make the team. True. There was just no doubt. So that just leaves those bottom 4. And this is where I'm kind of baffled that 12 didn't make this team.
Yeah,
I'm completely baffled.
Rossi,
I think he's.
Oh, sorry, Rossi, you're live now, so I fixed it the best I can on the spot. So thanks for trying to sabotage the show tonight, buddy. I know you were a maybe anyways, but I do appreciate you coming on, buddy. What's your initial thoughts? We are on the wide receivers right now, and then we're going to get to the comments. Obviously, Hopkins, Burks, Phillips makes the team. No surprises. NWI, I think we got into that discussion last night that might have been something. If they kept Dowell, maybe they get rid of NWI. They decided to keep both of them. And then Kyrus Jackson, and then more, but we'll get to him later. Kyrus Jackson would be the one I would be, before I go off on a tangent, I would say he would be the one I was most shocked in. But congratulations to all the wide receivers, because I think even Mason would tell you all these guys work hard, and they all support each other. So I know deep down he's excited for some of these guys to actually get an opportunity. So what's your thoughts, Titans Rossi?
So did you say on the roster or like the wide receiver situation?
Wide receiver situation. We did quarterbacks. I think we both agreed about Malik Willis. We went over running backs. Talked about, are we surprised that maybe Patrick didn't make it? They're going to go waiver wire. And now we kind of hit the wide receivers before we get to the chat. So we're going to be here a little bit of time, I know, because I know 12 is very important to this channel. But what's your initial thoughts on the wide receivers?
Good. So just in time. Look, the past few years with this team, we've seen, and look, I'm not talking bad about Jackson. I like the guy. I think he's got talent. I think that I'm not saying he doesn't, I don't know the word deserve or whatever, but I'm not saying that he doesn't, his spot is not a rightful spot, considering all the competition. But the last few years with this team, we've had players come and go. Dez, 4th round draft pick, traded for him. Racy, he's gone now. And I can almost, I don't want to say, I can almost guarantee you Dez is not getting a P squad spot. I'm not Dez, but Racy. And there's others. I can't think off the top of my head at the moment, but there's all these receivers who come in, they're drafted, they're from D1 schools, and they never end up panning out to be anything,
Yeah.
I hope Jackson does pan out to be something. I hope Colton Dowell does pan out to be, good players and role players and whatever that they, can be to contribute to this team. And look, I'm a Kinsey loyalist. I've been unapologetic about it for the 3 years that I've been following him. Of course, everybody knows on this channel that we're super Mason Kinsey fans, and we're unapologetic about it, right? It's not something, look, ride or die, right? That's my guy. And I think everybody who's a football fan has a player like that, whether it's the Mason Kinseys, the Kyrus Jacksons of the world, or whoever. Everybody's got a favorite person they like. Caleb Murphy was a guy this year. Mine just happens to be a wide receiver by the name of Mason Kinsey. Now, I will say this, I thought the way that they talked about him during the offseason, the way Vrabel praised him, but they also praised Odakoya, and look where he's at.
True.
So
Easton Freeze,
it's almost
said he was a guaranteed lock. Man, can you imagine if we said that on the network?
Oh, God, we'd be crucified.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's like you just don't know. The Titans are a weird organization, to say the least. They're the best at keeping injuries hidden. You never know what's going on. Monty Rice, the mystery of Monty Rice over the past 2 weeks. And then today he gets interviewed, or today or yesterday, and says, the guy's like, where have you been? And he says, life and God. And we're thinking the whole time it's been an injury because he's been out there practicing with the injured players at practice.
Yeah.
So you never know with this team. You never know with the GMs and what, Vrabel's really thinking. But I think Jackson's got a good opportunity. I hope he makes the most of it, and I hope Kinsey finds, I really hope Kinsey finds a team. I hope a team picks him up, because this whole of him being on the practice squad and them just making him play DB, this has been going on for years now. I think he deserves a shot somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I think he deserves a shot somewhere else. I hope somebody picks him up. I really do, for his own sakes. If not, hopefully they bring him back to the P squad. I'm sure they will. And if he doesn't go somewhere else, then hopefully he gets a shot. But overall, man, and I know this is long-winded, but the wide receivers, as long as they can stay healthy, if Burks can stay healthy and D-Hop can stay healthy,
True.
then I think we're in a good situation. If those two don't stay healthy, here comes last year and worse.
Oh yeah. Don't even say it though. Don't even say it. We're gonna get to some of the comments. So first of all, shout out to our super chat. King George says, I love the running back death. But not Levis, not a Levis fan. So he would be with our buddy up there, Titans for life. JS75, Jackson's going to be a role player. And then we got someone else down here that says, Goku420 says, what if Kyrus Jackson makes the Pro Bowl? If he makes the Pro Bowl, I mean, I'm not going to make any bets and get a tattoo or anything. But, I mean, if he makes the Pro Bowl, that's a good thing for all of us. You know, that's the thing.
Right.
All three of us might support number 12, but we are Titan fans. We are,
Of course.
the fans created the network for all the fans to be a part of, you know, and we never mock. We never talk down to anybody. There's a lot of interesting comments that we're not going to make fun and ridicule like some would do in the media. But at the end of the day, like I said, if these guys ball out and helps the Titans win, I mean, we've never won a Super Bowl, everybody. Trust me, I want to see one before I pass away. And I'm in my 40s now. So it's hard. So let's keep it going. Frankie says Jackson's better than Phillips. At least he stays healthy. I think Kevin Rader would have been a dark horse at tight end room. Now, there were a lot of people that liked him because he can block and he somewhat can catch. But we'll get into the debate with Wesco. I thought maybe they would have, like you guys have mentioned, they cut Vrabel's offseason award winner. But anyways, we got Rossi in here. Shout out to you, Rossi.
I think,
for
I think that if Mason is there's three teams that I think Mason could go to and probably not only make the 53-man roster, but maybe even start. I think the Panthers, there's huge opportunities with the Panthers. I think the Falcons and the Jets. I think those are three teams that he could go to and make an immediate impact, because all three of those teams are lacking that slot guy. They just don't have that slot guy that's dependable. So I think Mason's going to get his shot, and I think a lot of these teams are going to start pouring through a lot of the footage that they've seen where, there's been times where I've looked at the all-22 and Mason's been running free and the quarterback just didn't see him or didn't hit him. So
especially that touchdown in Chicago would have won the game.
Yeah. I
mean,
mean,
if we're going to judge touchdowns to make the roster like some did with Broadway Sports, why they put Kyrus Jackson is because he scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter of the last preseason game. I told you, you guys are going to have to hold me back. I'm going to flip out here in a minute. But I did want to get to some more of these comments. We got Mark, I agree. Dowell and Jackson, the right choice over who was left. Phillip can also. Problem is that, yeah, like you said, Phillips just hasn't proven anything. And people float out the first game, guys, like he had the 66 yards. But in his last 3 games in the NFL, because he didn't really play much last year, 2 catches for 12 yards. Like, can we just at least hold it a little bit with Kyle Phillips being the next Pro Bowler or Derek Mason type on this team? Let's keep Kinsey. He says Kinsey can play slot. That's what hurt him. Philip Maddox. I love his comments. I love all your comments. He says, upload, I really believe Vrabel put the wide receiver names in a hat and drew them out. That would probably make sense there. Michael hating on Levis when he hardly played any snaps. But on the flip side, hating on Willis when he's played every snap. I mean, I'm going to throw that one out there to you. I don't get the trade for Folk. We will get into that later, Luke. But, yeah, that is something we're going to discuss here as well. We're 30 minutes in. We're at 139. We got 36 likes. Come on, guys. Help us out. Tighten up that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We'd appreciate it. Your likes. We're at 135 now, but your likes definitely help push this thing even further. Maybe we can get to 200. So wide receiver. Now, you guys kind of touched on a little bit. From the guys that didn't make it, Holmes, okay, whatever. There were some people that were actually in the Roberson camp. I'm not really upset about that at all. Actually, he got some returns early on, I think, in Chicago, and then we didn't really hear from him in the return game. He's been another guy that's had a couple years now as a Titan. Some people just fell in love with him. I mean, I feel bad he didn't make the team, but there were some times I noticed out on the field he's just not doing what he's supposed to. And if I noticed that, then definitely Vrabel and the offensive staff did, especially in one of those plays where he's running a jet motion and he either went behind or in front of the court. Definitely screwed Malik's rhythm up. So he definitely went the wrong way. When you talk about Harrison, there was Paul Kaharski, I believe, put him on his 53. I was shocked on that, but he didn't make it. Racy McMath, we already talked about him. And then we get to the other guys. Now, here's why I get upset. I get upset because they screwed Kinsey. I'm going to say it. They screwed him. And it's his 4th year. Ran, it's his number 1 year, so I give Ran a pass on this. But this is 4 years for Mason. He does everything he needs to do. He knows every position, okay? He's an Iron Man. The guy never gets hurt, okay? I mean, the guy took a lick, by the way, against Minnesota, and he was out of play, and he came right back. There's a lot of players that would have mailed it in at that point, okay? Very smart player, worked his butt off to get to where he needs to be, right? But he knows that. He knows this is his only chance. Here's why they screwed him. They gave him a starting spot in the last preseason game. He runs out of the tunnel. He gets to be a captain. When did he actually get to play in that game, guys? When did they actually put him in the game? You guys remember?
3rd quarter, wasn't it?
It was the end of the 2nd quarter. They threw him out there. And James, we had this discussion before we went live. Said like you play like 5 offensive snaps. That guy was your heart and soul against Minnesota. Nobody else could get open for Malik but him. He had 4 catches. And I know it's not a lot, but when everybody else had maybe 1 target, let alone a catch, that's a problem. And you guys all endorse it. I get it. You all endorse it. You're all for it. Whatever. Fine. That's cool. But when we're needing somebody to get open on the freaking field this year, and it's 3rd and 5, and D-Hop is double teamed, and he's over on doing his stuff, and Burks can't get in the game because he's hurt, and Phillips can't get in the game because he's hurt, these guys better be able to produce. Your Dowells, your NWIs, he's not off my hot seat either. The Moore that did absolutely nothing in the preseason game against the Patriots, and he had like 28 snaps for crying out loud. These guys need to step up. And the sad part is I know Mason probably could have because at least he's shown it in a few preseason games, unlike some other. And my final point, and I'll shut up, end of the game. We're really judging a guy at the end of the game. He had 3 catches in the preseason. Not one media member has been on the high for this guy throughout training camp. They might have mentioned his name. Paul Kaharski didn't have him making his 53. You know, the only one I really saw that made the 53 for Kyrus Jackson was Broadway Sports, but the rationale behind it was stupid. Oh, because he caught a touchdown in the 4th quarter, so we'll throw him in there. That's freaking ridiculous. So, end of the day, congratulations to all these guys that made the team. But I'm going to defend Kinsey to death on this one. But he's not even the one I'm most upset about. I'll save him for later. I will give you a hint, though. It does still involve punt returner. I'm even more upset about that, so you know I'm fired up. So any last take on receiver, we'll move on. Anybody in the – and some of you, too, like, shame on you. You know, everyone just assumes he's going to the practice squad. You might kind of wake – what would you do if you woke up in the morning and somebody claimed him? What would you do? Would you think any different if they put him on their 53? Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But like James said, there are options out there for the kid. And he's polished, man. He's a vet that somebody could count on. And I'm sure Vrabel, you guys seen Vrabel in those press conferences. He's smiling. He gloats when he mentions his name. He knows exactly what type of – he's a Vrabel guy. I'm sure Vrabel's trying to figure out something for the kid too. So I shouldn't call him a kid because it's his birthday and he's like 25. So any last take on wide receiver?
No, I mean, I agree with you 100% on everything. I mean, me and you have talked about it. We talked about it earlier today. honestly, man, I was super bummed today. I was like, man, I don't even want to talk. I don't even want to talk about the roster today. That's how bummed I was. But like I said, we all got our favorite players, man. We all got
Yeah.
our guys we follow. I happen to be a little closer to the situation as far as Mason goes, but I agree with you, man, and I hope another team picks him up. I really do.
Yep.
And I hope he gets what he deserves and gets on a spot somewhere. And
And,
that's all I'm going to say about it.
and I hope none of you get offended, but I'm going to support the guy. So he gets picked up
Me
by
too.
Atlanta, Carolina, the Jets, like James mentioned. Just who knows who else? Maybe he ends up back in New England. I'm not going to be like wearing like Patriots gear by any means, but I'll definitely be tuning in on Sunday Ticket and watching what he does, and I'll comment if he does something big. I'll comment on my live streams.
Yeah,
But
second team for sure.
I mean, think about it though. If he ends up on Atlanta,
Oh, I love it. Those are my my game bet. We got the 4 field passes for that game.
Yeah.
Oh man,
October 29th.
Yeah.
That would be wow.
Be
I would
perfect
be
for him though, honestly. Close to home. Back with Art. If you watch the quarterback on Netflix, like Mariota really did speak very highly of Arthur Smith. I know Arthur Smith kind of
he might burn us.
Yeah.
He might burn us.
So that would be my number one, other than the Bears, just because he'd be only an hour and a half from my house. So,
and the other thing is
on the weekends.
If the Panthers get him, November 26th.
There you go. There's some options. But
man,
I mean, for him would be amazing, guys, real quick, and then we'll move on, I promise. What if he does end up with the Jets? With Rodgers? Who knows? They got a great defense. We're watching him on a Super Bowl. I mean, you just never know. So I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but it would be cool if obviously he got claimed. But like I said, back to my original statement, shout out to these guys who made the team. And that includes Kyrus Jackson and more,
100%.
not more, but Dowell and these guys. Like they earned it. They deserve it. And obviously they're on the team for a reason. So shout out to all of them. So you guys,
all of these guys work their behinds off.
Exactly.
And I'm not trying to denigrate any of these guys and say, and say that they don't deserve it, or so. It's we're here to provide entertainment. We're here to provide knowledge. So we have to give some some analysis of what we think this squad is. So we're not trying to say that these guys aren't hard workers.
No.
We're not trying to say these guys are scrubs or awful, because look, they're doing stuff that, if I got out there, you might as well bring the ambulance on out there along with the stretcher. Because I'm going to be on it soon. Get my ICU bed ready.
Donkey Kong with a super chat. Shout out to him. Says Titan Upload. Great content, man. Hey, thanks for being here, Donkey Kong. We love you. And just like I said, thanks for all your comments. So let's keep diving into this. If I see some more receiver stuff, I'll put on there. We got congratulations, not to more LOL. Mark Cold, comma. Okay, for the Titans. All right. So let's dive into tight ends. Okay, Okonkwo. I mean, I didn't realize he was kind of hurt, but he's back now. Had a little bit of a rough preseason, but he made one heck of a grab. We saw at practice. Wesco, which he would be one. Wesco and why those guys, man, I don't know. I mean, are they going to do something here with the tight end that we don't know about? But we're really weak here, it looks like.
They better do something with the tight end. I'm not saying
if Okonkwo goes out, then what do you got?
Well, are we going to bring any of those guys back from last year? I mean, I know our tight ends were bad last year, but I mean, if Wesco is okay, he can block and do some things, but the more and more I read on him, there are a lot of people that are skeptical on him. And like I said, the Wiley, he's not showing me much. I know he's young, right? He's really young. I think Ran made a message today, guys, by keeping the six picks that he took. He's like, hey, this is my team. This is my roster. We're keeping these guys. And then we have 4 newcomers, undrafted free agents. So that's 10 guys of the 53 are from this draft class. That's also kind of shocks me in a good way, though. And hopefully these guys can play. But any closing comments on the tight end?
Weak. I mean, weak. To me, I don't know. I think Wally could eventually be really good at some point, but I must have Missouri DNA because I have to say, show me. I have not seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rossi, you good on the tight end, or are you shocked? I mean, I can't pronounce his name, but
I'm not really shocked. I thought Odukoya would make it. I really did, just because of his blocking ability, and that's the Titans like blocking tight end. So it seems, but I mean, hopefully he'll be back on a practice squad, and he's somebody you can utilize if, God forbid, if any of these tight ends go down and you need to bring up somebody. So we'll see what happens. Wiley, I'm not, I don't fault him as much for that one catch he missed where he had to go up high, because, I mean, Malik Willis threw it, 205 miles an hour and 2 feet above his head, and the guy's 6'7". So,
yep.
I mean, but we'll see what happens. He hasn't showed me much regardless. So, I don't know. As far as the tight end, it's a weird situation.
And then offensive line.
One thing about tight ends that people are we traditionally keep 4. They're traditionally pretty good blockers, but you have to remember we have a new offensive coordinator with a new offensive philosophy.
True.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to say that this isn't exactly what they wanted.
Yeah. You're right. That's a really good point, James. Offensive line, I think all of us were a little shocked. Radens is back, so good for him. Hopefully he can actually help the team this year. But any of the cuts, I know, Rossi, I'm not going to steal your thunder here, but I know you put some tweets out today. And one tweet I know you commented you were a little shocked on. But of the guys that did not make the team, which one were you the most shocked on?
As far as I mean, Jordan Roos was one I was pretty shocked on. I mean, I thought he was a shoo-in, just considering what they have on the roster. I mean, I guess they're really high on Xavier Newman, which I don't know much about the guy. I mean, they didn't really seem to talk about the O-line a lot this offseason. Like, you didn't hear them breaking down the O-line, and it seemed to be that was our biggest need, and you didn't really hear much news out of the O-line camp as far as how are these players doing? How is Jalen Duncan looking? How is, you heard a little bit about Justin Murray, but I mean, you don't really know. So maybe they like Newman more over Roos. I don't think Roos is great by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, he seemed to be like a solid backup vet at that position. So that surprised me.
Anything, James?
Well, I think, I don't know. This offensive line group is, in my opinion, at this point. Now, as the season goes on, I think they're going to get better. But at this point, I think this offensive line is trouble.
Yeah.
It's trouble. And I don't think any of the guys that were cut were better than any of the guys that didn't get cut. So for me, it's like flip a freaking coin. We'll pick whichever one ends up on heads. So this offensive line, I've been thinking about this for several weeks now, and I'm going to say something shockingly that may be controversial. Me say something controversial, shocking. I know.
Want to talk about politics? I'm just
I don't know if this staff knows how to develop an offensive line.
not
Remember
Keith
when they
Carter
got
fan?
here? No. When they first got here, they had a well-established offensive line.
Yeah.
And now that they've had to start replacing these guys because they got older and retired or no longer could play the position, I haven't seen them develop an offensive lineman. Name one offensive lineman that they've developed. Don't worry, I'll wait.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue some of these guys got worse.
Let me
You know?
let me ask you guys this: Is Peter Skoronsky a better O lineman than any? Well, I guess you can't say that he was Ben Jones, but other than Ben Jones, was he better than any of the guys we had last year, other than Ben Jones?
I think he's better than Brewer, but Brewer's still on the team. He's a center now,
But
so it's like
Better than Nate Davis? I mean, we don't know yet, but from
Yeah.
what we've seen, he's been, you know,
I don't like how they're floating him around. They kind of screwed up guys in the past by doing that, like Radens exactly.
Radens.
just put him at a spot and let him go to work. You know, I think he's probably. Don't get me started on Dillard, right now, because Dillard had a few good practices this year, but he's not looked great by any means. Okay, so him at left tackle scares the heck out of me, and I'm sure it scares Ryan Tannehill. The right tackle is going to Chris Hubbard right now, and that's okay for me for right. I mean, but man, like nobody really says much. But you remember the first preseason game against the Bears? Nick Petit-Frere went in there against a bunch of basically the Bears that are cut and they're not even on the Bears anymore. He was having a tough time. So for everyone that thinks he's just magically going to get plugged in here after 6 games, I think you're going to get a rude awakening because I don't see that. So Brunskill hasn't looked great.
I can say all of these guys are better than Dennis Daly. I can say
true. That's true.
I hope you're right.
That's true.
I mean, I think that they've marginally improved at left tackle. I have to say marginally improved because I don't know, what was it? Their third, I think it was their third drive is when they actually started saying, okay, we're just, but at that point it was one of those things where it was, how do I put this? A lot of the guys who they were going against aren't on teams today.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So, yeah, they were dominant. And I keep hearing that they were dominant in their third drive. Well,
yeah. Sportacular with a super chat. I do give you a shout out real quick here because I don't want to lose that. We will talk about Folk here, but to end the show. But says Folk is an iffy trade for me, and I'm actually kind of more in your camp, buddy. And I'll explain why later. But I'm excited that the Tides actually did something in kicking, so at least I'll give them credit there.
Oh, Lord. No, don't give them credit. Just don't.
I wanted to go to Mario left an amazing comment, so I'll have to go find it real quick. So good thing I can find stuff like this. All right. It's right here. He says, Ruse was a shocker, but I think Ruse was a wave because Dylan came back. If Dylan was still on pup list, I believe Ruse would be back on the roster, still on the roster. I think that's a really good overlook of what maybe went down. Radens definitely changed someone from not making the 53. And then finally, the defensive line. I don't really have the. I mean, Petco is maybe that's somewhat of a surprise, but I don't really have any. Naquan Jones, I think, could have been replaced by one of these other guys, but Peavy's had a good offseason, I think. I love me some Tier Tart, and Autry's a monster. Simmons is our elite defensive lineman, so I feel still really confident as long as they can stay healthy with our defensive line. Any quick thoughts on the D line?
I still think Pop-Tart. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Jeffrey Simmons or Danico Autry are irrelevant, but I'm saying Tierra Tart could wreak so much havoc that you can't double team Jeffrey Simmons or you can't double team Autry. I think that he is a key piece to this defensive line this year. This defensive line will go as far as he and Simmons can take it.
Yeah.
Because you lose that that middle of that pocket, your quarterback is absolutely going to get crushed. So I think, the defensive line, it kind of worries me that there's only, that they only kept 5. I would have liked to have seen them keep 6, but I think that's a function of having to keep 7 receivers
Oof.
because you're going to have to wait to put wait to put Phillips on on IR. That's it. I was trying to think of injured reserve. I was thinking of IT and I kept saying but
It's all right. Oh man.
So IR. I think you're gonna have to put Phillips on IR. At that point, then I think I don't know if some of these guys are going to be available. I think a lot of these guys are going to be gone. Now, if you want to talk about a place where the Titans, this staff can develop, it is defensive line. These guys are top-notch
there.
defensive line.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are definitely amazing there, for sure. Let's keep it going. So we got cornerback, safety, outside linebacker. We could start with outside linebacker. Landry, Key, Weaver, and the guy that came out of nowhere, number 42, Caleb Murphy, with the amount of sacks that he had. I'm glad preseason games mean something where, like, if he doesn't make what could you do in preseason better than what he did to make a freaking roster? So I am glad that they were able to keep him. And they're obviously the two. Sammy O doesn't make it, which I think there was a little bit of surprise from some. I think he did a decent job. But anything with the outside linebackers, as long as Landry can stay healthy, Key's been amazing. Key has Weaver's. I've seen growth from Weaver, so I'm actually really excited about this group, even though we don't have, what's his name that we lost, Bud Dupree.
Yeah, I think it's an upgrade. I mean, I think, it all depends on availability because hopefully. Again, it all goes back to health. As long as these guys can stay healthy, it's obviously an upgrade over Dupree because he can stay healthy. But I think Arden Key is a heck of an addition. I think Weaver just looks better and better as time goes on. Caleb Murphy has looked great. So yeah, I mean, it looks like a really strong group.
Yeah. You shocked on Murphy though? Any of you? I mean, did you have him initially making your 53 before the season started?
I thought he had a shot.
Produced.
Yeah. I thought he had a shot after that performance. I literally started going through, like, who is this guy? Who is this Caleb Murphy guy? But this is another position where I think the Titans are really good at developing players. They're really good at putting players in optimal positions to be successful. Harold Landry started being much more successful when they started doing a lot of twists and stunts and getting him into the right position to make key plays. So I think the same thing you're going to see, Arden Key get in the right positions. Rashad. Now, don't get me wrong. Caleb Murphy, I think I'm not sure if you can throw him out there today and he be productive. I don't think you can throw him out there on day one and he be very productive. But I think as he gets better technique wise, and he's going against the best as opposed to, guys who are, going to be sitting on the couch tomorrow eating junk food. I think that that they see something in him, and I saw some stuff in him that I think could be developed with better technique, maybe a little bit more burst off of the edge. Because to be quite honest with you, I think he was a hair slower than he can be.
Yeah.
So
Safety. Let's round it up real quick. Our
Oh.
last position group. Or we need cornerbacks. We didn't go over corner. Not sure why the cornerback didn't show up.
do we have to?
We'll get it. Do we have to? We'll get it eventually. Safety, Byard, Hooker, Molden, Brown. Jackson was kind of a surprise, I think. Brown, heard a lot. The switch from Molden. Molden's kind of one of those, Swiss whatever. He can do a variety of things. He can play inside. He can play safety now. So it's nice to see Molden getting some action. He just has to stay healthy at this point. But the only one that doesn't make it is Jones. So I don't think that's a huge shocker to anybody other than maybe them keeping Jackson then. And that took away another spot at maybe tight end, or as James mentioned, that might have hurt some of the other position groups.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at Kendall. Just because to me, I'm not sure when he played, I'm just not sure about his eye discipline at times. There were times where I saw, if it had been better quarterback play, I think he gets torched because he kind of has let his eyes kind of dictate what he did at times. He was a little not technically sound, and he in his hand placement when they were in like a press situation is concerning to me.
Yeah.
So that was that, but he does have speed. So
yeah. And then finally corner, the Gar thing I'll probably go off on, but Rossi, did you have anything to add to corner?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm glad Trey Avery is back. He seems to be a guy that can plug in here and there. McCreary, to see him back in his natural position, that nickel spot is good. I'm still concerned about. I think Bunting is a good player, but is he a good every down outside cornerback? A starting cornerback. But the good thing is our D line should be wreaking havoc, so we don't have to have the most dominant corners out there. But that's one thing we got going for us. I was really pleasantly surprised with Fulton and the way things have gone this preseason. I feel like he's primed to maybe have a more consistent year. But yeah, Kendall was a surprise. Garrar, I felt like, I don't know what happened there. They touted him all off season, all preseason. He was a heck of a punt returner. He constantly made plays, but I don't honestly. I remember hearing Anthony Kendall's name here and there, but not nearly as much as Garrar.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that just goes to show you that look, if you go out for the Titans, this is just a message to anyone who thinks that they're going to get either drafted by the Titans or be a UDA or a UDFA for the Titans. If you're getting praise by this coaching staff in the off season, pack your bags because you're not going to make this
you're
team.
gone. Yes, I think that's very true.
Just go ahead and pack. Be ready to go on cut day because you're gone.
Somebody asked about Caleb Farley. Yes, he's not on my cornerback list to be cut because he wasn't cut. He was actually still on the PUP list. So, prayers for him. Did you guys see the video of like him actually helping bury his own father? This guy, some of these people, and I'm not going to mention them on this channel for sure, but it's like, I get it. He hasn't lived up to what he's supposed to be, but this is just and this should scare all of you with gas, because it's like this could have happened to anybody. And it doesn't mean that, oh, it's a house, $50,000 house or $100,000. I mean, no, this is $1 million house that just went up. And to see that and to see the pain when he's talking about it, and losing his mom not that long ago to cancer, like, this dude really, it's so sad. And man, I just wish, good night, buddy. I just wish, like, I don't know. I feel like the guy's all alone right now. And I just wish we could, like, you know, like, just be there for him. I know the team, they got, you know, their practices and what they're doing, but I just feel like the poor guy's just off on his own. And I just pray that everything's going to end up be okay in his life. And football is by far the lowest on the you know, the totem pole for him to worry about.
It shouldn't even be on the totem pole at this point.
No.
I mean, look, I know what it is to lose a house to fire. Just happened to me.
Yep.
Yep.
You do.
And I don't know if I've fully recovered yet. I really mentally, I don't know if I've fully recovered yet. There are times where I still dream about, you know, I'm walking through that house. Okay. And then on top of that, to lose loved ones is, I don't know. It's I don't know. I don't know how people get through that, but I do know that, you know, people do get through that, and they get through it with support. And if you're not there trying to support this young man, then I don't know what's wrong with you. You might need to go see somebody.
True.
You might need to go seek some help. Go to your priest or rabbi or whatever you believe in. Maybe go to a psychiatrist. But because this is the epitome of the time in which you should feel empathy towards someone. And if you don't feel that, then there's definitely something wrong with you.
Yeah, for sure. And there are a lot of people probably that had no idea that you went through all that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, like, share stuff that I can't, but what you showed me today, picture wise, like, it was amazing. Okay. What you showed me, James, but just deep down, just feeling like, my goodness, like, how long did that process take, where all the stuff, and I don't want to get into all your personal life, but Rossi and I know, like, it was so hard, and like, you had to go through so much. I mean, there's so much more, and I just feel awful, you know.
It's and I'm going to tell you, I've got some friends, you know, my first of all, my mom, she was there for me. My sister was there for me. You know, you guys were there for me. You know, and this is why I have a special place for some of the Titans, because they were there for me too. You know, they sent me some clothes. They sent me, you know, stuff to, you know, the little gift cards to eat. You know, because at that point I had no place to cook, so I couldn't cook food, so I had to eat out. They, you know, well wishes, things like that. And then, you know, I have friends like my friend Kelvin, and my friend Mikey that were there, just kind of like, okay, bro, what do you need? Let's get this done. You know, and just the kindness of strangers, people who I didn't even know, who I've never met, never talked to, had no relationship.
The laptop.
Yes, the laptop.
And the laptop, it just showed up in my hotel. I had no clue who it came from.
They might be in this room right now, man.
Yeah. And, you know, but I was able to bounce back to some semblance of normalcy about, I guess, 3 months ago. That's how long it took. And my house fire was in February, year before last.
Yeah.
That's how long it's taken. So,
that was right around the Bengals playoff loss too.
Yeah.
Not to mention. Not,
Yeah,
I'm not
Yeah,
saying
one I remember one long after that.
because
Yeah.
we were thinking, yeah,
No,
wow, but
it was before that,
it was
Mm,
right
I think.
before that. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
because we went
and,
to the game together. Yeah.
yeah, and then but I could not, and we know, and I managed to get all the dogs out, all the cats out. No one lost their lives. No animals lost their lives, and I can't even fathom what what that would be like to lose your home and a parent, and I believe someone else perished in that. Isn't that correct? Yeah. So there was another person, another loved one there. So I can't fathom that's hard for me.
Yeah.
You know, that's really hard for me. So, look, I don't care how he's played in the past. I don't care that he's been out. I don't care that he hasn't been healthy. That I really, because that to me, life trumps anything
True.
else. So, look,
Lumen, we're talking Caleb Farley. So, James had shared about his house fire that he went through. So, I mean, I apologize if you come on here and think we're supposed to just not be human and just talk about football 24/7. It's not what this channel's about. This channel is a family-friendly channel for a freaking reason, man. So come on. And I see you in all the shows, and I still love you, man, but just, yeah, probably not the best time for that kind of comment. So we, but like I said, we're still, James, you're still going.
yeah.
It's not easy, and that was our message with Caleb, and like it's just really hard to see everything, and like I said, we just keep praying for him, and
Yeah.
when he's ready and needs to come back or whatever, eventually that will happen. But right now, that's not even like James says, not even on the list at this point.
Yeah.
Our final. We got a couple topics to just fly through here real quick, and we'll be done. Nick Folk. Okay, so they make the trade. They give the 7th round pick to New England, and we get Nick Folk. Now, James, you thought something earlier might have been going on. Do you care to share that? I think it had to do with Denver and the Saints. Was that you?
I don't think so.
Okay, Ross, you know what I'm talking about? I thought someone in our chat was sharing that.
Yeah, somebody had shared something about. I can't remember who it was. I have to go back and look in our chat about us making a move with Denver, possibly, or something
With
like
the
that.
Lutz from the Saints,
Lutz, yeah,
and
but
how there was a decision to make. Like, does New Orleans send him to Tennessee, or do they send him to somebody they're not going to play this year? And they thought, well, since we play them in week 1, maybe that's the reason why. But we've made multiple trades with teams over the years. I remember we traded Folk, the quarterback from Washington State, to Miami, who was our week 1 opponent. And why that was interesting is because, remember, Miami didn't know about our new offense that we supposedly had, and Amy Adams was throwing that up there at the practice or whatever in the preseason games about how amazing it's going to be. So then the week of playing Miami, we went ahead and made that trade. And then, oh man, I forget, Western Kentucky. I couldn't stand the guy. We ended up trading him. We played Cleveland in week 1. He was a slot receiver. Oh, you guys got to help me out here. I couldn't stand him.
Oh, Lord.
Western Kentucky, 3rd round pick for J-Rob. Somebody in the chat will get it. He was on the Titans a while. He never panned out. They traded him for like a 7th round pick to Cleveland. And I think he's out of the league now. Anybody know in the chat?
I
Guys still
don't
here?
remember.
Tighten up that like button.
When-
Appreciate it.
When was that?
When we played Cleveland.
Kaywan Taylor.
There it is.
Kaywan Taylor.
Okay,
Taywan
yeah,
Taylor.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. So that's when we smacked Cleveland in the mouth in week 1, and Delaney Walker went off. But yeah, we traded him right up to the thing. So I get a little of that, but when you're trading a kicker, I don't really think, if you're willing to let him go anyways, that means you don't think he's good enough. So I doubt you're worried about him beating you. But the reason why I'm not sold on Folk Yes, he's 38. And yes, it's a nice option, better than the Badgley dude or any of the other guys we had. But like I said, like last year, he missed 3 extra points. I forget what he went when he kicked. I know he made a decent amount beyond 49, which I'm excited about. But if you look at Randy Bullock went 17 to 20 last year, and he was 28 for 28 on extra points. So again, like extra points can cost you a game. I know Bullock lost week 1. Folks had his share of losses too. So I don't know, guys. I mean, right now I'm kind of iffy on it. And I guess there's not a whole lot of options out there. And we give up way too much on kickers, but Badgley for me I'm kind of good to see him go. He's already had multiple chances here.
Yeah, the kickoff thing is concerning with Folk. Like I saw a stat. I saw a stat on Twitter. I don't know how accurate it was, but they were like saying he'd only hit the end zone 9% of his kickoffs. I mean, I don't know if that's a correct number, but that's pretty terrible. I mean, the one thing he's got going in his favor is, the new touchback rule. Or the fair catch rule.
Yep.
So, I mean, that could save him in that so maybe that's what they're thinking. Well, it doesn't really matter anymore because you can just fair catch it. It's all good. But, which is insane to me, but which sucks. Something Pat McAfee is not happy about either.
Can Stonehouse kick off? Do you guys know?
Vrabel apparently said in a press conference they didn't want him doing that or something.
Okay.
So I don't know, man. Hopefully this guy can still kick and make extra points. I mean, he was like 32 for 37 last season. He was over 90% in 2021 and 2022. The extra points, that's not good, but I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think, James? Do you think this is the guy? Like, what was your initial thoughts when you heard the Titans were working on a trade to bring in Folk from New England?
The number 18. That's how many kickers we've had since 2018.
I thought you were talking about
so
Peyton
terrible.
I'm sorry. Okay. We had
and some of these guys are good now. Santos is amazing for the Bears. Just amazing. Right. They love him in Chicago. It's on his second contract already.
Think about this. We had Austin Bernard, Ryan Suckup, Chiaro Santos.
There he is for the Bears.
Cody Parkey, Greg Joseph, Ryan Santos, Tucker McCann, Stephen Gostkowski.
Yep.
We did
Giorgio Tavecchio, Sam Sloman.
The
championship.
The Doinker.
Blake Halbeal. Okay. Sam Ficken.
Who never
kicking with Ficken.
One game. He got hurt.
Michael Bagley, which think about that. This is his second stint here.
2-term kicker.
Randy Bullock.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Caleb Shudak. Remember Josh Lambo?
Yeah.
Trey Wolf. And now we bring in Nick Folk. Okay. This is what I say. Whoever your kicking coach, if it's the same person who's been here through all these guys, fire him.
You can't fire him. They won't let. Jared brings it up all the time at press conferences, and they all mock him. Vrabel mocks him. Paul Kaharski mocks him. I mean, anybody's out there, they laugh at him. Joe Rexrode. Oh, my gosh. Craig Aukerman. Craig Aukerman needs to go because there's nothing really good about our special teams. And it obviously.
The Michael Keaton sound alike.
So I'm just saying,
I'm sorry.
There's some truth to that.
He
He
can't.
needs to go.
It's apparent he can't do the job because we've had kickers, and what, 2 or 3 of them are still in the league and are pretty good now. Is that not correct?
What happened?
There's a couple of guys who are that are still in the league that are doing pretty good right now.
Yeah. Greg Joseph still in the league. He's doing really
Yeah.
good. And like I mentioned, Santos for the Bears. I mean,
So, excuse me, you mean to tell me that these 2 guys, and then you had Steven Gostkowski, who was a doggone near clutch most of his career, and then he gets to Tennessee, and all of a sudden he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a pickup truck and an atomic bomb. I mean, to me, that's got to tell me, when a girl says it's not you, it's me, that means it really is you.
yes.
Yes,
That's very true. Or there's nobody else. Yeah, there is. There actually is.
Yeah. So there's to me, coach, it's not you, it's me.
So we're gonna wrap this up. It's 1 hour 17. So maybe 5 more minutes. We got 2 more quick topics to go. 154 still watching. So shout out to all of you. Like I said, don't forget to tighten up that like button. We really appreciate that. Trying to get 100 likes before the end of the show, which is great. Really, really great. It's good that we got a lot of you back in here, and I feel really good. I feel like I needed that because I came in pretty emotional about Kinsey being cut, obviously, today on his birthday. But you guys have definitely helped me out. I apologize I haven't got to a ton of your comments. I've been trying to put them on the screen, but I do really appreciate. We all appreciate you guys from the network to take your time and come here. All right, so Titans claims. I put Roby on the thumb because obviously the Saints and, with our cornerback, could you use another guy? But honestly, do you think there's anybody out there now that we solidified kicker supposedly, or even if you don't know a specific person, but maybe we talked about tight end being an issue, or maybe a position group that you would love for the Titans maybe to go out and kick the tires on and bring in? And then ultimately, if you bring someone in, guys, you're going to have to take someone out. So who you bringing in, who you taking out?
Maybe McGlinchey, Mike McGlinchey.
In the chat, you guys can answer that as well. Who are you bringing in, and but you got to take somebody out too. So if you're a Kyrus Jackson fan and you want to bring someone in, 7 wide receivers, you would think one of those would probably go first, but who might I say?
I think that the weakest of all position groups is the offensive line. I think you got to bring in somebody from the offensive line.
I agree.
I don't know who you'd bring in at this point because, the guys that are going to be on the street are not going to be that much better than what you have, or are going to be so expensive you can't afford them. So it's just one of those things where you got to look for a guy who might be able to be, who may not be great, but maybe good enough. So that's why I say McGlinchey.
You got anybody, Rossi, or at least this position group?
Yeah, I mean, offensive line. I mean, the issue with offensive line depth is there's not much of it.
No.
I mean, across the entire league.
Yeah.
So it's not many teams have it, to be honest. It's hard to find 5 decent ones, let alone some backups who are really good too. I mean, there's guys out there. I heard Dennis Kelly's available.
I thought it was Dennis Daly.
Oh my God.
I thought Jared wanted
Kelly's
to bring in Dennis Daly. I'm like, what is he doing? He's an idiot. And you guys are like, it's Dennis Kelly.
Hey,
Dennis
right.
Daly. Did he get cut today? Please tell me he got cut.
Oh gosh, he's probably gonna light it up, which would go back to James' original point about the offensive line coach. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he did or not, but I mean, yeah, they're gonna have to probably bring a guy in at some point. tight end, like I said, I mean, I
Ugh.
think you got to put the guy Odukoya on the practice squad, man. I think he's a must, and
Yep.
the surprising thing is them not keeping an H-back, because that's something they've always done. I
Yep, that
feel
too.
like they've done the last in Vrabel's tenure.
Vrabel's era,
Have
yep.
they never not had a H-back? So, but maybe that has something to do with the new offense that Kelly's running. So,
True.
I don't know. I mean, so that's a very interesting thing. And I feel like Odukoya is one of those guys that could probably be in a H-back type of role,
Yeah.
if you had to have him. So maybe he's somebody, if he doesn't get swiped off the practice squad, but he's also an international, a designated international player, and there's something to do with that as well. I don't really know the rule behind it. I was reading on Twitter earlier where he might be able to be protected or something like that. I don't know. Or he doesn't count against the practice squad number, but you could keep him. I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody in the
There's
chat
something to
knows
that
about
for
that,
sure.
but I feel like that's somebody you need to keep in your back pocket in
Yep.
case things go awry.
I mean, I floated this out there. I would be all for bringing in Desmond King. I know people like, but again, it was a short stay with the Titans. I remember he ran one back against the Bears, but whatever. It's because he can return punts. We don't have. You're telling me Kyrus Jackson, day one against the Saints, you're comfortable with him going back there and just being fine? I mean, we thought we were fine with Kyle Phillips last year, and he went back there and muffed the punt in the week one against the Giants. So we need someone. We had Robert Woods last year who didn't want to be that at all, and they kept throwing him out there. Like, we need a decent returner. I mean, I know Mark Mariani's not walking through that door, but still, there's got to be someone that, and I think Desmond King's a decent returner. I know he's kind of on, what is he, like 31 or whatever he is, but I'm sure Hooker would love to have him, that Iowa connection that they got going on. But whatever. But tight end does scare me, because we're one injury. What are we gonna do? Like, Vrabel's always big on the 2 tight end set, like you guys said earlier. And I know Kelly might change a little,
Yeah, it's weird,
but I mean,
right?
they're run first. This team's still gonna be run first. So you need another tight end, and maybe they got something up their sleeve for that. Obviously, I think if anybody comes in, if it's an offensive lineman, then yeah, maybe an offensive lineman gets cut for sure. But I would say your wide receivers right now, is it Dowell? Would he be the first one to go? It seems like they've picked Kyrus Jackson to be the punt returner. So until Phillips comes back, but I mean, I don't know who the first weak link would be. Safety, maybe Jackson would go, but I don't know.
If Phillips goes on the IR,
then they can bring somebody else up. Yep.
I guess they could bring up another tight end or something. I mean,
True. And I'm sure they've thought of that, and they got the
interesting point.
Yep. Well, hey guys, it looks like Joe's got our comment for the international players, by the way.
Sweet.
So, and he's also a member, so shout out to Joe. But he says, yeah, international players that don't count against practice squad or the 90-man roster is why we had 91 on the roster. Good point. I did not know that. I didn't know that about the 91. It was something to do with practice squad, but I didn't know about the original roster, so to speak. But hey, guys, closing comments. Thank you again for being here today with us. James, shout out to you as always. And Rossi, you guys are amazing for the network. Like I said, when we first started the network, it was us 3. So I do, it's great to have you guys on the show. I haven't really had a lot of guests on my show lately, partly because of eCam and trying not to screw it up. And James knows I spent 10 minutes trying to even being able to hear him, and I had him on mute the whole time. So silly me. But I guess we could start with James. Any closing comments, man? I'll put you on the big screen.
The Titans really need to get our kicking situation, our offensive line. There's just a lot of things that our coaching staff, I think, needs to kind of do a little soul searching. Wide receiver development, all those types of things are need to be addressed. But most of all, I think if you're going to talk about you want players that can do multiple things, and then you ask them to do those multiple things, and then they do those multiple things, and then you cut them anyway, shut up about wanting players to do multiple things. That's just keeping it real.
Yeah. Because you screwed Mason by making him do quarterback, and he never got an opportunity. If we're going to go Broadway sports analogy here to end the show here, by scoring that touchdown to win the game, not really win the game, they were destroying New England, but you know what I mean, the fourth quarter touchdown, if that's why he made the roster, which I know is not, but shame on them for even putting that in there. That's just ridiculous. But I get your point. I really do. Rossi?
Yeah, that's a great point, James. I like that. But no, appreciate all you guys in the chat. We appreciate you greatly, man. You guys have been helping us grow the channel. I do not know if I will have a Rossi report tomorrow or Thursday, but I would definitely let you guys know. We'll get it in there. If not tomorrow, then Thursday. But stay tuned for that. Me and James, we co-host that together. So we appreciate all the support on there. You guys have been killing it for us on the Rossi report recently. So yeah, man, I'm excited for the season. I'm bummed. I've been bummed today about my guy not making it, but it is what it is. Hopefully he'll get a shot, whether it's with us or somewhere else. And yeah, you're right, James. I mean, why ask a guy to do all these things to go? I wish he would have went out there and just threw it, on that as a quarterback. Now that this is happening, just go out there and throw a bomb. What the heck, right? But anyways, Upload, appreciate you, man, as always, and tighten up, everybody.
Yeah, tighten up. But you know, if something magical happens in the morning, man, we'll have to get together tomorrow to celebrate wherever he ends up. So,
Definitely.
Fingers crossed for sure. But yeah, you guys were awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great night.
Peace.
Tighten up.
So, you guys heard it. We went through all of the roster tonight. We tried to give you our initial takes. I was reading the comments to my left. We had almost 600 comments. We're almost to 100 likes. I know you'll get me there till the end of the show, but it was a good night. I mean, it brings back that the season is here. Like, I have the ticker. It's been there 11 days, 13 hours before we're going to get into this and for real. And week 1, Saints, September 10th at noon, when that thing kicks off Central Time, the 53-man roster will be way back in the rearview mirror. And honestly, it probably won't even come up to that point. And we're ready to go. Ultimately, what's going to derail this train to winning the AFC South, which I think this team is severely overlooked, as we always are. The one thing that can derail this team is going to be, as we know, happened last year, injuries. And that's the one thing that I'm worried about with depth. So that's why today is an important day to get that original 53. And you guys made a point, like, yeah, this 53 that you speak of, Upload, is not going to necessarily be, and it won't be the final 53, as the thumbnail says, because by the time the season starts, there's going to be many different revolving parts to this team. But ultimately, we need our main guys to stay healthy, especially on defense. You guys don't understand. I think you do, but we don't understand how important defense really is for this type of team. That's why we needed a person who could come in here and kick field goals, because of the fact that our team is going to be around close games. Doesn't matter who we play. Doesn't matter if it's the Texans, which we know we can lose to. It doesn't matter if it's the Saints week 1 or the Chargers in week 2 or the Ravens in Europe. This team is going to be in some dogfights this year. And the style that we play on offense and the nastiness of our defensive line on defense, the defense is going to keep you in games. The offense is just going to have to score enough. And that's why special teams is really, really important for the Tennessee Titans to continue to keep stacking wins this year. So defensively, losing a piece like Hooker again, like we did last year for a little bit, having McCreary or Fulton go down, or linebacker, especially middle linebacker, having an injury there. Talk about Nyman. I don't even know if we went over the linebackers. We should have, but regardless of the fact, that is going to be an issue. And like I said, if we did not go over the linebackers, I don't think we did. Maybe we did. I don't know. Maybe we didn't. But there's the linebackers in case we didn't. And I am actually kind of shocked on. I'm actually more shocked on Nyman than anything. But I know a lot of you were shocked on Campbell, James Campbell but maybe they'll bring him back. I thought I heard that they'll bring him back. Hopefully, try to for the practice squad. So, any closing comments from you? And we're ready to call it a day. Just want a little. See a little bit more from you guys and actually get to more of your comments. I do it, like I said, when I have guests on. I do apologize. I can't get to more of your comments. Derek says, site and upload. One area you want to see improvement this season. That's a really good question, but I would say consistency on offense. I want to see improvement. I don't want to have trouble scoring all year or, taking steps back during the season where we think we're making strides after the Green Bay game. And then Todd freaking Downey goes out and gets a DUI. And then, like I said, the injuries start to pile up and then the offense takes a poop. I don't want to see that kind of stuff. I want to see some growth, obviously, in my young guys. But more importantly, I know the defense is going to be solid. I know they're going to be solid. The only question with the defense, if everybody stays healthy, are they going to be really, really good, or are they going to be elite? That is what we don't know. Are they going to be? I would have got him. Rossi was able to get it done, so shout out again to Titan Rossi. All right, guys, I'm out. I enjoyed it, though. I enjoyed it. 2 likes away, by the way. Hour 38, probably a little too long. I get it. But we had some really good conversation tonight, so hopefully you guys all enjoyed it. But until next time, man, tighten up. Like I said, 11 days, 13 hours, 15 minutes, and 50 seconds until the Tennessee Titans go down to New Orleans, take on the New Orleans Saints. We'll know a little bit more tomorrow. Will the Titans make any claims? If they do, then some people on the 53 will be finding a new job. So we'll keep that on our back pocket to see what's going on there. We did hit the 100 likes. Shout out to all of you. It was a struggle at the end, but we did it. We did it. We almost had 200 in here tonight, so really, really excited. But again, take care, guys, and definitely tighten up.
This Titans for life. Always keeping it real. Right here on the Titan Upload Network.